The complete Naruto timeline. With its central themes of generational violence and inherited hatred, understanding the timeline of the world of Naruto is vital to getting the most out of the series. Which is why in this video we're going to outline every major event in the series in chronological order. Welcome to the Amagi. In today's video we're going over the complete Naruto timeline. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. The Amagi's reach stretches beyond just this channel, so if you're a fan of us, please consider subscribing to our other channels and following us on all our social media. Help us reach our goal of passing 100,000 followers on all of our accounts by the end of the year. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. As there's no prominently used calendar in the world of Naruto, we'll use Naruto's birth as the central event that frames the other happenings in the series. Also, the Naruto timeline can be a bit imprecise in terms of exact years, so some of these dates will be approximations. With all of that in mind, let's lay out Naruto's timeline. 1,000 years ago. A millennia before Naruto's birth and the events of the main story, Kaguya and Ishiki Otsutsuki arrive on Earth to harvest a chakra fruit from a god tree. Kaguya was originally supposed to be sacrificed to the god tree to supplement the chakra fruit's growth, but she betrayed Ishiki and mortally wounded him. From there, she began a relationship with the ruler of the Land of Ancestors, and was eventually exiled from the land due to nearly starting a war, and consumed the chakra fruit. This endowed Kaguya with the Rinne Sharingan, the progenitor of the Sharingan and the Rinnegan, and she gained the ability to manipulate chakra. She used her incredible powers to end all conflict in the world, leading to people worshipping Kaguya as a living god. She then used the infinite Tsukiyomi to control humanity and prevent any further aggressions. The only hiccup in her plan was her two sons, Hagoromo and Hamura, who were born with the ability to manipulate chakra. 970 years ago. Seeing their mother essentially enslave humanity, the twins decided to rebel against her. Taking offense to this, and wanting the chakra she accidentally bestowed on them, Kaguya fuses with the god tree to create a Ten-Tails and faces off against her children. After a long battle, the twins eventually win. They seal the Ten-Tails chakra inside of Hagoromo, making him the first Jinchuriki, and seal the Ten-Tails husk, later called the demonic statue of the Outer Path, in what would later be known as the Moon. Kaguya, though, is able to prevent her will from being sealed away and secretly creates the entity that would later be known as Black Zetsu. From here, Hamura departs to the Moon to guard the statue and founds the Otsutsuki clan of the Moon. Hagoromo stayed on Earth and spread the teachings of Ninshu, which would become the basis for modern ninjutsu, which earns him the moniker of the Sage of the Six Paths. 900-ish years ago. This is where the timeline starts to get a little fuzzy. Hagoromo separated the Ten-Tails into the Nine-Tailed Beasts and also had two sons, Indra and Asura. Indra proved to be a prodigy and quickly mastered the teaching of Ninshu, while Asura struggled and found new meaning and friendship in that hardship. As Hagoromo grew older, he surprised those around him by declaring that Asura would be the one to succeed him as the leader of Ninshu, much to Indra's shock. Due to his jealousy and feeling of betrayal being bolstered by Black Zetsu, Indra attacks his father and the community he created using his Mangekyo Sharingan and Susanoo. Asura is able to stop his older brother and force him to flee using a combination of senjutsu, wood release techniques, and chakra lent to him by the other villagers. This conflict would go on to have reverberating consequences for much of Naruto's history. Swearing to put an end to Ninshu, Indra founded what would quickly become known as the Uchiha clan. Wanting to preserve his father's teachings, Asura would instead become the progenitor of both the Uzumaki and Senju clans, the latter of which would directly clash with the Uchiha. Which leads us to the Warring States period, from about 800 to approximately 64 years ago. The Warring States period arose due to small and disorganized nations clashing against one another in attempts to gain more power and territory. However, as most nations didn't have the resources or manpower for sustained military offensives, they would frequently enlist the services of independent ninja clans. Over the course of centuries, the strongest and most sought after of all these clans proved to be the Senju and Uchiha. The strength of each clan was so far above any other that whenever one side of a conflict hired one of them, the opposing side would hire the other. This led to repeated clashes between generations of each clan and a deep hatred of the other growing in each group. After centuries of this conflict, Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha met as children without knowing of the other's lineage, and quickly bonded over the loss of family members and shared status as child soldiers. During sporadic meetups over the course of many years, the two young ninja develop a plan to end the seemingly ceaseless conflict by founding hidden villages where ninja can live as people, instead of tools of war. However, their families eventually learned of their secret rendezvous, and the two are forced to face off in proper battles from then on. As the two reach adulthood, they become the leaders of their clans, and Hashirama proposes that they enact the plan they developed as children. Saddened by his brother's recent death, though, Madara rejects Hashirama's offer and instead attacks him. Hashirama emerges as the victor, though, and Madara agrees that the Uchiha will form an alliance with the Senju to create the Hidden Leaf Village. Approximately 50 years ago, with Hashirama becoming the first Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village and his younger brother Tobirama likely to be the second, Madara felt that the community would soon turn hostile towards the Uchiha clan and abandoned it. Madara then attacked the village on several occasions and faked his death in his final confrontation against Hashirama, in which he manipulated the nine-tailed fox Kurama. Following this battle, Hashirama's wife, Mito, sealed Kurama inside of her to prevent a similar attack, and Hashirama created the Five Kage Summit to share the tailed beast with the other newly formed super nations, in an attempt to instigate peace. This peace wouldn't come to fruition easily though, and Hashirama would pass away under unknown circumstances shortly before the First Shinobi World War, making Tobirama the second Hokage. First Great Shinobi War, approximately 34 years ago. This war arose due to the five ninja nations disputing over resources. Not a ton is known about this conflict, but Tobirama does sacrifice himself so that his subordinates can survive, and he appoints Hiruzen Sarutobi to be the third Hokage shortly before his passing. Hiruzen would go on to train the future Sannin, Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru. 16 years ago. About 16 years before Naruto's birth, Kushina Uzumaki moved to the Hidden Leaf Village and joined its ninja academy. Her unique chakra and heritage made her a prime candidate to become the next host for Kurama, and she was quietly prepared for the role. However, these features also made her a valuable bargaining chip to other villages, and she was kidnapped. Thankfully, she was saved by Minato Namikaze and quickly falls in love with him. Around this time, the majority of the Uzumaki clan was wiped out due to the threat their powerful sealing techniques posed, leaving the remaining members scattered and generally unaware of their heritage. Second Shinobi World War, 14 years ago. Around this time, the Second Shinobi World War began, in which the Sannin earned their prestigious title, and Jiraiya trained the Hidden Rain Village orphans, Nagato, Konan, and Yahiko. 2 years later, these three would form the Akatsuki with the intent of protecting the smaller communities that were most often devastated by the wars of larger nations. Yahiko would die over the course of these efforts, placing Nagato in charge and motivating him to turn the Akatsuki into an outright mercenary group. With his Rinnegan abilities, and some manipulation from the likes of Black Zetsu, he decided to capture the tailed beasts and use their combined power to rule over the world, become a target of everyone's hate, and create a kind of pseudo-peace in the process. Committing to this goal, he began calling himself Pain, and changed the Akatsuki's uniform to their iconic black coat with red clouds. Third Shinobi World War, 4 years ago. That brings us to the Third Shinobi World War, which went pretty well for some people and not as much for others. For instance, Minato was able to prove himself as a distinguished ninja during this conflict, and ensure that he would become the fourth Hokage. Kushina also would have become the second host of Kurama during this time, which, while a burden, also made her someone of vital importance to the Hidden Leaf Village. Of course, Minato and Kushina also would have married and cemented their relationship during or shortly after this war. On the other side of the spectrum though, Kakashi Hatake, Obito Uchiha, and their teammate Rin Nohara had a pretty tough time. During the war, Obito was grievously injured and gave one of his Sharingan eyes to Kakashi, who recently lost one of his own. Rin and Kakashi believed that Obito perished, but he was in fact saved by an aged Madara. Having experimented with Hashirama's cells, Madara gained the ability to transform his Sharingan into Rinnegan and cultivated a White Zetsu army. Madara heals Obito with the intent of making him part of his schemes, but the young ninja expresses reluctance. However, when he learns that Rin is being attacked by enemy ninja, Obito accepts the help of a spiral-faced Zetsu and runs to her aid. Having been forcibly made a host of the Three Tails, Rin requests that Kakashi kill her so that she can't be used as a living weapon against the Leaf Village. Kakashi obliges and takes her out with his Chidori. Seeing his first love perish, Obito and Kakashi's Sharingan transform into a Mangekyo Sharingan, and Obito wipes out the enemy ninja while Kakashi passes out from the trauma of the event. Obito then returns to Madara and agrees to participate in his Eye of the Moon plan, taking Madara's name and laying the groundwork for many of the major events in the series. Naruto's birth, 0 years ago. One of these events included the attack on the Hidden Leaf Village that coincided with Naruto's birth, as the seal binding Kurama was weakened. This resulted in Minato and Kushina's passing, Kurama being sealed inside of Naruto, tensions rising between the Uchiha clan and the rest of the village, and Naruto becoming a pariah in the community. Uchiha clan downfall, approximately 4 years after Naruto's birth. With tensions rising between the Uchiha clan and the government of the Hidden Leaf Village, a civil war is seemingly on the horizon. Danzo, a shadowy leader within the village, conscripted Itachi Uchiha to exterminate his clan and prevent the destruction of the entire community. Itachi agrees, on the condition that his younger brother Sasuke will be spared. Itachi then eliminates nearly every member of his clan, with Obito providing assistance while posing as Madara. This fosters a deep hatred of Itachi within Sasuke, and he dedicates his life towards getting revenge against his older brother, who seemingly destroyed their clan for no purpose. Itachi then joins the Akatsuki and secretly relays information about their actions to the Hidden Leaf Village, approximately 13 years after Naruto's birth. Now we're getting to the mainline events of the series. 13 years after Naruto's born, he graduates from the Ninja Academy, joins Team 7, and takes on his first significant mission, which is escorting a carpenter to the Land of Waves. This turns out to be more of a challenge than originally expected due to political strife in the region, and Team 7 faces off against a former member of the 7 Ninja Swordsmen of the Mist, Zabuza, and his powerful disciple Haku. Team 7 is victorious, and Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke earn the right to enter the Chunin exams. Naruto and Sasuke make contact with Orochimaru for the first time during this exam, and both make it to the final round of the evaluation. However, it's during this time that the village hidden in the sand attacks the Leaf Village. Sasuke and later Naruto fight Gaara, the host of the One Tails, with Naruto ultimately defeating the enemy ninja. As the third Hokage perished in this battle while fighting Orochimaru, Naruto and his mentor Jiraiya set out to find Tsunade, the granddaughter of the first Hokage and the only person qualified to lead the village. During this time, Naruto learns his iconic Rasengan, and after another bout with Orochimaru, Tsunade becomes the 5th Hokage. Not all is peaceful though, as Sasuke grows frustrated with his perceived weakness and Naruto's newfound power. He flees the village with the Sound 4, and the Sasuke retrieval team is sent after him. After a series of battles, Naruto confronts Sasuke, and the latter reveals that he wants to leave the village in search of power that only Orochimaru can offer. Naruto and Sasuke face off in the Valley of the End, and Sasuke ultimately emerges victorious thanks to the cursed seal placed on him by Orochimaru. While the Sannin had wanted to possess Sasuke's body, the timing doesn't work out, and instead he takes the young Uchiha under his wing. Frustrated by his inability to save Sasuke from himself, Naruto goes on a training trip with Jiraiya. Approximately 16 years after Naruto's birth. When Naruto returns from his training, he discovers that his peers have become Chunin and Neji a Jonin. He also learns that Gaara is Kazekage of the Hidden Sand Village, making him an even bigger target for the Akatsuki. The mercenary organization succeeds in removing the One Tails from Gaara, but the Kazekage is revived. However, during this conflict, the Akatsuki lose their resident puppet master, Sasori. Shortly after this, Yamato and Sai join Team 7, and they, Naruto, and Sakura have another confrontation with Orochimaru. During this event, Naruto and Sakura meet Sasuke again, and he reconfirms his desire to no longer associate with the village. Realizing that the Akatsuki are eventually going to come after Naruto, leadership decides to be proactive and attack 2 of its members, Hidan and Kakuzu. However, the plan backfires and they kill the 3rd Hokage's son, Asuma Sarutobi. Later, Shikamaru manages to permanently seal away the immortal Hidan, and Naruto defeats Kakuzu using his newly developed Rasen Shuriken, with Kakashi landing the final blow. Following this battle, Sasuke betrays and seemingly kills Orochimaru, forms his own team, easily defeats Deidara, and finally faces off against Itachi, with the latter dying of a terminal condition during the fight. This awakens Sasuke's Mangekyo Sharingan. Approximately 17 years after Naruto's birth. Next, Jiraiya is sent on a mission to learn more about the Akatsuki, and he's killed off by his former pupil Nagato under his pain persona. Grieving, and realizing he'll need more power to fight against the Akatsuki, Naruto travels to Mount Myoboku to learn Sage Mode. He eventually completes this task just as pain attacks the village, and Naruto is able to stop the assault and even convince Nagato to revive all who perished in the battle. Around this time, Sasuke leads his team to fight Killer Bee in an attempt to capture the 8 Tails for the Akatsuki, which is now effectively run by Obito. The mission fails, and Sasuke and company attack the 5 Kage summit, where the Akatsuki declare war on the ninja nations. Here, Sasuke succeeds in killing Danzo, the man arguably most responsible for the Uchiha clan massacre. After this fight, Sasuke slips further into darkness, and now nearly blind, replaces his eyes with Itachi's to create a set of eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. In the ramp-up to the 4th Shinobi World War, Naruto fights and defeats Kurama, thus gaining access to Nine-Tails Chakra Mode after he trains with Killer Bee. Some of the few remaining Akatsuki, Kisame and Konan, are killed, the former during a reconnaissance mission and the latter by Obito, who is attempting to retrieve the Rinnegan from Nagato's corpse. The war then kicks off, with the allied shinobi forces battling against an army of white Zetsu and the revived corpses of some of the strongest ninja in history. During this war, Gaara gains closure by defeating his revived father. A revived Itachi meets with Sasuke to explain his true motivations, and the two help resolve Kabuto's identity crisis. Orochimaru is revived, and the previous 4 Hokage are revived as living corpses. After talking to the Hokage, Sasuke decides to go against the Akatsuki and decides to become the Hokage so he can guide the village in a way that would align with Itachi's ideals. While this is happening, Obito collects a last sample of each of the tailed beast's chakra and creates the Ten Tails, which he seals inside of himself. While the Ten Tails is still rampaging though, it impales Neji Hyuga with a huge wooden spike and kills the Jonin. With Naruto and Sasuke joining forces, and thanks to the help of the allied shinobi army, they're able to defeat Obito. However, before he can perish, Black Zetsu forces him to use the Rinnegan to fully revive Madara. The elder Uchiha then becomes the host for the Ten Tails and further augments his already incredible powers. At the cost of his leg, Might Guy is able to stall Madara long enough for other ninja to recover some of their energy. However, they can't stop the nearly godlike figure, and Madara succeeds in placing the entire world under a genjutsu using his Eye of the Moon plan. Just as it seems like Madara's won though, his power runs out of control thanks to Black Zetsu and Kaguya Otsutsuki revives through him. Once again, finding herself in a position to rule over humanity, Kaguya sets out to do just that. But Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi, and Obito attempt to stop her. Naruto and Sasuke even receive the ability to seal her away once more from the spirit of the Sage of the Six Paths, Hagoromo. After a long battle across multiple dimensions, they manage to once again seal away Kaguya. Naruto and Sasuke then have their final showdown, as the latter wants to seal the tailed beasts away and kill the Kage in an attempt to correct the flawed systems of the world. Naruto believes that there's a less violent solution to the world's problems, and the two battle once more in the Valley of the End. After perhaps the best fight in the series, the two both lay exhausted on the ground, both down an arm, and join hands in friendship and solidarity, thereby ending the genjutsu enslaving the world. 18 years after Naruto's birth. Shortly after the war, Kakashi becomes the 6th Hokage. Then, 20 years after Naruto's birth, Naruto and Hinata marry, which leads to 25 years after Naruto's birth. Naruto finally becomes the Hokage, thereby achieving his childhood dream. Conclusion. So there you have it, the complete Naruto timeline. Please let us know in the comments what your favorite events in the series are and what kind of video you'd like us to produce next. Did you enjoy our video? Be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.